Thank you all so much for coming. It's really amazing to see people here tonight. It's powerful to have the community come together and yeah, just take a lot of pride in that. It has been 2.5 weeks since one of the hardest, most confusing and destabilizing days of my life. Since then, I have struggled to focus on anything that isn't in direct pursuit of defending Israel, staying up to date on every happening, and reaching out to those in my life who resonate with my feelings of despair, frustration, and fear. It is, quite frankly, exhausting. So, if you have experienced anything like what I have described, you are not alone. In fact, I'd even say that you're in good company. This means that your moral compass is working, that you have not let others in humanity deprive you of your own. This means that you remain optimistic in a time when optimism feels like a foreign concept, that you remain committed to being a pursuer of justice, a beacon of light during days darker than any of us could have fathomed we'd experience in our lifetimes, and steadfastly hold to the core belief that the loss of innocent life is tragic, horrible, and heartbreaking, no matter who that person was and never got to become. It also means that you have not given up on the more than 200 souls from 33 different nations who remain in captivity. Late Monday night, Yocheved Lifshitz, an 85-year-old woman, was released from Hamas captivity, and when speaking about her abduction, described it as though she went through hell. Without letting your imagination run too wild, think for just a moment about those who still remain in Gaza. Yocheved described being held in the network of underground tunnels Hamas has built, and how evidently prepared they were for the arrival of each individual that they deliberately kidnapped in an act of sheer terrorism. These families taken from their beds as they slept peacefully committed no crime other than being Jewish. Yet we are hearing deafening voices from all around the world trying to twist this truth into something it is not. We need to continue tirelessly and emphatically to demand the prompt and safe return of each and every one of those individuals. In Judaism, there is a mitzvah rabbah, or a great mitzvah, called pidyon shvuyim, or ransoming captives, as it is believed that captivity is worse than starvation or death. Those who ignore this call to action are believed to be transgressors of the commandments to not harden your heart and to not stand idly by the blood of your brother. As Jewish people, as upstanding citizens, as people who are alarmed by what Rachel Poland Goldberg, the mother of Hirsch, whose arm was blown off by Hamas and subsequently taken hostage, deemed a global humanitarian catastrophe. We must continue to stand by our brothers and sisters in peril, since it is painstakingly obvious that the world will not.
My name is Yuval Grossman, and I'm a professor of physics. I was born in Jerusalem and grew up in Nahariya, 7 miles from the Lebanon border. I'm also familiar with the horrors of war. My father was killed when I was 5 in the war with Syria. When I was 10, terrorists came from the sea into the street and murdered a friend of mine from school. Too close? Too close. Now it's better? Now it's better? Thank you. For years after that event, every night before I went to sleep, my sister, mom, and I blocked the entrance door with a big table. I remember my mom telling me that this big table would protect us. How did I cope with my personal loss? After years of pain and inability to act, I chose the route of peace. I have learned Arabic and made many Palestinian friends. I have joined the Parent Circle Family Forum, a joint Israeli-Palestinian organization of people who have lost an immediate family member to the ongoing conflict. I have been teaching physics in Palestinian schools. I did the little I could do to make our world a better place. And then came October 7. The pain, the picture. A daughter of a high school friend of my wife was murdered at the festival. A nephew of a dear friend of mine is a hostage in Gaza, and the list goes on. The wounds of the past were reopened. In the last few weeks, I've been full of pain. I can hardly eat or sleep. I know many of you are in the same state. It is the darkest era of my life. Unfortunately, even our campus became a place full of hate. We all heard the words. Each of them is like a sharp sword in our hearts. We saw the graffiti. We saw a professor taking down one of our posters. We saw the Native American program at Cal organize an inflammatory event. When I was standing here a few days ago with my small flag to show support and love, a student flipped me off. I asked my dear friend Sliman, a Palestinian from Nazareth, what he would like to say to the Jewish student at Cornell. And that is what he told me. In particular, in moments of desperation, one must believe that after the war, peace will come. Now, more than ever, I believe in peace, a real peace. We were not born here to fight each other. We were born here to love each other, to understand each other, so that we will live peacefully together on that land. To make the dream of Sliman come true in Israel will take time. Yet, I hope that we can do it now, here at Cornell. I'm standing here with a plea to my colleagues. We are professors in one of the best universities in the world. We are here to set an example for our students. The world is watching us. Let us show respect, compassion, and understanding. I humbly ask you not to use hateful words during this time, even if we have the rights to do so. Despite all the personal pain that we are experiencing, now it is our time to lead and support our students. I would like to send a message to all of our students. I'm here for you. I will talk to you and support you. It can be in English, Arabic, or Hebrew. I do not care where your pain is coming from. My job now is to help you deal with your pain. I will conclude with words from a famous Israeli song by Shalom Chanoch. Walk against the wind. Olech neged haruach. I would like to say it in the three languages. It's always darkest before dawn. הזיל מטעתי דיימן כבל אל-פג'ר. תמיד הכי חשוך לפני עלות השחר. Thank you all for being here.
Hi, thank you all for coming. My name is Mike Sigler. I'm a Tompkins County legislator, and recently we tried to raise the Israeli flag at the legislative chambers. We were not successful in doing that. But I didn't want the folks here to think that that means that you are not supported. I will say that certain things have surprised me. You are living in a time where you have an awful lot of people saying, do not conflate Hamas with the Palestinians. And yet that is what they are doing in a lot of these instances. And that was not lost, I think, at the county legislature, certainly not by me when I was speaking to them. You have a group of people who don't want a two-state solution. They don't want land. They don't want any of these things. Hamas simply wants to kill Jews, and that is it. I have a 9-month-old daughter, so when you're hearing about these things that Hamas had done on October 7th, this hits home for a lot of people. When they went in and murdered babies, when they went in and raped women and killed women, and when they live streamed a grandmother being killed for her family to see. And we need to speak frankly about these things. We're not used to doing that. We're not used to talking about horrific things like that. But that's where it is, right? A lot of you don't remember 9/11. So I'm old enough to remember that. I remember watching the second plane hit the towers and my mother's on the phone, and watching people not jumping for their lives. They were jumping away from the fire, and they knew they were going to die. And I remember seeing all the cars left where people weren't coming back for them. They were all gone. And that led to a lot of decisions later on that maybe we regret, some of them we don't. But we couldn't go back to September 10th. And that's where we are now. You can't go back to October 6th, where Hamas would fire a rocket and kill 2 Jewish people, and then Israel would respond with a proportionate response. What is the proportionate response here? The only way to do this is to eliminate Hamas. And at our meeting, we had people saying things like, that hasn't been verified. Hamas, they GoPro'd the thing. They shot video. They're not trying to hide any of this. They're proud of this. But I want to say this is not a war against the Muslim community. I'm very proud to represent Lansing. We have a synagogue, we have churches, we have the only mosque in the county. I represent all of those people. This is not a war against them. This is a war against a very specific ideology and group of people. People that don't want any of the peace that is being talked about. And I want to keep that in mind. And right now it's very difficult for a lot of people on college campuses because that's where a lot of the energy is. And you know, you watch George Washington University, I know you all are watching this, where they put up, frankly, support for Hamas on a building. And then you look around here, and I saw postings today of graffiti. That's going to get harder. Right now, all of these soldiers in Israel are preparing to enter Gaza. It's going to get harder. And I want you to look around, because you may not get a lot of support, but the people right here are the people that you can count on for support. And reach out to them and support each other. And I can promise you this, there are certain politicians out there, and it's a bigger number than you would think. I mean, Congress, Schumer, Hochul, President Biden today came out with a lot of support for Israel. You have a lot of support, and don't forget that, because it is important. It is important for you to turn to your friends and your neighbors and ask for that support and to support each other. So thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ruth Collins. I'm a professor of molecular medicine here at Cornell. I know the last thing that you need is a lecture, but professor's going to profess.
Put the microphone.
Professor's going to profess. The last thing you need is a lecture, but that's what we do. I know that you're dealing with a lot of pain and grief, but what I want to talk to you right now is the impact of the wave of anti-Semitic propaganda that you're facing. I know you see people around you, your peers, sleepwalking their way into holding anti-Semitic ideas, often with incredibly emotional language and images. I know that when you attempt to correct this bias with logical and well-founded arguments, you find yourself being ridiculed and ostracized. You're bullied, coercive gaslighting that mocks and magnifies the pain. And I want to share some insights to help you understand and navigate the situation. My expertise is in science. In science, we look at the evidence. We have to decide what is the explanation that fits all of the data. We look at shared observations. We know that the apple always falls to the ground and doesn't go the other way around for all of the trees, not just the trees in some orchards. So I want to be very clear about the evidence. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, period. Every student deserves an education that provides the tools to enable this knowledge. So why do so many persist in this cognitive bias that can be cured so easily? And why do they refuse to listen and they lash out when you ask for dialogue and accountability? There are at least 4 sources of pleasure provided by anti-Semitism. First, the pleasure of hatred. Second, the pleasure of being part of a tradition. Third, the satisfaction of a conspiratorial way of understanding the world. And fourth, the pleasure of displaying moral purity. Each of these is independent, but they combine and magnify each other. When you try to correct the bias, you encounter a backfire effect. This is a phenomenon, a psychological phenomenon, that causes people, when confronted with evidence that could challenge their belief, to reject that evidence and strengthen their beliefs. This dissonance is even more likely when the beliefs in question represent the pleasures such as anti-Semitism provides. Challenging such beliefs induces negative emotions, which impacts the ability to reflect and accept the new evidence. This means, as you know, showing people evidence that demonstrates they are wrong is surprisingly ineffective. It can backfire. They launch into denial or they double down. So what can you do to change this? First, how you present the information is just as important as what that information is. Engaging in a gentle, non-confrontational way allows people to internalize new facts and reach evidence-based conclusions. Anything that can be perceived as an attack on the other person, which too often includes asking for accountability, can make people defensive and even more unwilling to accept new information. This is exactly the same phenomenon with anti-vaxxers. When you show them the evidence that vaccines save lives, they double down on their denial. It's the same effect. For your mental health, I want you to know these limits in communicating with people who promote anti-Semitic ideas. When you debate on an issue that affects you so powerfully, it takes a much greater emotional toll on you than them. For them, it's an academic exercise, a chance to cosplay on the pain of Israelis and Palestinians. For you, it's revealing your pain to have the other person diminish your experience, and all too often, your humanity. The other person can remain calmer than you because of their privilege, and because they are supported by a deep culture of anti-Semitic discourse, which is clickbait for social media. You can invite only curiosity and encourage constructive engagement. But I don't want you to despair if you don't change someone's mind, especially when anti-Semitic ideas receive institutional support. Self-delusion is as much a part of the human condition as fingers and toes. I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to be the friend to yourself that you wish others were to you. Be part of the community. Learn about the resources that are here to support and empower you. Document everything. And know that you are cherished, you are valued, you are needed, you're alive for a reason, you're much stronger than you think. I'm glad you are here. Don't give up. We will get through this. Thank you.
I'm Ethan Oliner. I'm the president of PEDMA, it's the Orthodox Minion at Cornell, for Orthodox Services, and I'm also on the e-board of CFI.
My name is Miranda Price. I'm a senior. I am the president of the conservative Minyan Shabach.
We're going to say a prayer of Mishaberach for the captives in Israel. I'm going to say it in Hebrew, Miranda's going to say it in English. Mishaberach Avatenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov, Moshe v'Aaron David Yishmoch Yivarach v'Yishmor v'Yinsor, and the right Tzvah Haganah Yisrael, et kol shvim b'toch shar achenu b'Yisrael, hanutim mitzara v'shuvia, v'avor shakal mifalel b'avaram, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachmim aleihem, v'yotziyem michoshech v'tamavet mosratehem, yanatek, ubim sukotehem yoshiem, v'shivem mihira l'chek mishpachotehem, yodu l'nei chasto v'neflotav, לפני אדם ויקיים בהם מקרא שכתוב ופתויי אדוני ישבון ובאו ציון ברינה ושמחת עולם על ראשם ששון ושמחה ישיגו ונעשו יגון מנחה ונאמר אמן.
May God who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Joseph, Moses, and Aaron, David, and Solomon, bless, protect, and guard the members of Israel's defense forces missing in action or held captive, and other captives among our brethren, the whole house of Israel, who are in distress or captivity, as we, the members of this holy congregation, pray on their behalf. May the Holy One, blessed be God, have compassion on them and bring them out from darkness and the shadow of death. May God break their bonds, deliver them from their distress, and bring them swiftly back to their families' embrace. Give thanks to the Lord for God's loving kindness and for the wonders God does for the children. May there be fulfilled in them the verse, "Those redeemed by the Lord will return. They will enter Zion with singing, and everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them, and sorrow and sighing will flee away." And let us say, Amen.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and I'm here on behalf of a good friend of mine, Charlie Lerner. Charlie graduated last year, but still wanted everyone to hear these words about one of his best friends. Omar Nutra and I met in high school, and almost instantly became best friends. We had every class together. We went to USY together, and by our junior year, he was already the president of USY. Omar is a remarkable person who is a natural leader, and yet the goofiest guy I know. When it came time to go to college, we both had the transfer option to Cornell. Instead of going to college, he decided to take a gap year in Israel on a mechina, which is a pre-army program, where he found his roots. After that year, he made the tough decision to go to the army. I knew he was very conflicted, and we had many conversations about it. But deep down, he knew he wanted to protect Israel. Omar was drafted to the tanks division, in which he became a commander of a tank unit near the Gaza border. On October 7th, my brother, Omer, was kidnapped. He was patrolling the border where he was taken by Hamas terrorists and is now being held hostage. To know that I have no idea where he is hurts me. I pray that he is okay and that he comes home soon. I urge all of you to take action in any way you can for all the hostages, because a little can go a long way. Our calls and our cries right now are simple and unequivocal. We pray for Omar to come home, and we pray for our brothers and sisters to come home. Thank you.
If everyone could just move a little closer so it's easier to hear. We have a lot of room in the front. Yeah, keep coming. There's a lot of room. Thank you.
My name is Aram. I'm an Israeli exchange student from Tel Aviv University. Since I've heard a lot of people talk on campus about genocide, international law, I have a couple of tests. They are not originally my own, for whether people know what they're talking about when they're talking about Hamas. Anyone who says that Hamas are, okay, bad guys, doesn't know what they're talking about. You will hear that said quite a lot, and everyone here would immediately recognize this. They don't know. They don't know what it's like to be mutilated and tortured and raped at gunpoint. They don't know what it's like to see parents, kids executed in front of their own family members who themselves were the victims. Who themselves were the victims of the subsequent attacks and offenses. They don't know what it's like to see babies decapitated. They don't know what it's like to be tied together in piles of 10 with the rest of the town kids and be set on fire while they're still alive. They don't know what it would be like, after all that, to be one of the lucky ones, lucky enough to not get shot in the face like the rest, and instead be taken as a hostage into Gaza and paraded in the streets. They don't know what it would be like to see Hamas coming over the horizon, attacking your own town in that way, and to must have known what is about to take place. They don't know what it's like having the existence of entire communities abolished, making them part of Hamas's Gaza for just some time, and showing us, revealing to us, allowing us to see for the very first time what this Palestinian statehood would be like under their control. Since all of the people protesting against Israel on campus are so interested in the downtrodden and the helpless, do you think any of them took a moment to just think how they must have begged them? Imagine how they must have pleaded. Imagine for how long. Imagine how they must have prayed. Imagine how they must have besieged heaven. Imagine for hours and nothing, no answer, nothing. Imagine how those children must have felt. Imagine what they thought when they saw one of their own dead. No one seriously dares to try and make the claim that this is what Israel is now doing in Gaza. This is a complete moral inversion. This genocidal and suicidal organization proved exactly what it is capable of and what it wants. October 7th has been the most extraordinary live show of a real genocide you will ever see. This is evil, and this is a term that we cannot afford to dispense with. The death wish of these theocratic totalitarians for themselves and others is just too impressive to overlook. We lived at these men's permission for a long time. We lived by their warrant. Only their stupidity allowed us to be as complacent as we were up until now. And despite the ridicule, despite the incompetence, despite the failures, despite the disappointments, despite the errors, the decision to move the Palestinian people and the region into a post-Hamas era will stand as one of the greatest decisions for both Israelis and Palestinians. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm going to try and be really loud, so hopefully you can hear me. There's still room up front and there's also room on the sides, so please feel free to rearrange yourself if you can't hear. Hi everyone, my name is Emily Block. I'm the Managing Director of Cornell Hillel. I just want to first and foremost say thank you to everyone for being here this evening. Not only do we stand in unity with the larger Jewish community, but thank you for also joining us as we express our unwavering support for those who are currently facing unimaginable challenges. Our hearts go out to the hostages and their families, and we fervently hope for their safe return. I've spoken to many students over the past few weeks, and one word that keeps coming up is abandoned. Jewish students have expressed that they feel abandoned by people that they thought were friends, by the university community, and by the larger world. And I just want to assure you that you are not alone. You have a place here to belong at Cornell. At Cornell, our Jewish community shines as a constellation of diverse organizations, each committed to fostering a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, and a sense of home. Whether it's through Hillel, Chabad, the Center for Jewish Living, the Jewish Studies Department, you are never alone. Today we want to emphasize our commitment to you that goes beyond just this gathering. If anyone in our community encounters hatred, bias, or discrimination, know that you have an entire network of resources and support to lean on. We are here for you. We have multiple rabbis on our team, as well as other staff members who are here this evening. So if you're a staff member and you want to wave, people are scattered around. We would be more than happy to meet with you and happy to support you however you need. Together we stand united against any form of intolerance, bigotry, or anti-Semitism. In the face of adversity, we are stronger together. And let us be a beacon of peace, hope, and love, and support for one another, extending our arms to those who need it most at this time. The beauty of our community lies in its resiliency and its unwavering commitment to belonging. We are more than just a group of individuals. We are a family, Am Yisrael Chai, bound by a shared heritage and a collective mission to stand together against hatred. So let us remember that in these times of difficulty, our strength comes from our unity and our togetherness as a community. We can overcome any challenge that we face and be a ray of hope for those that need. Thank you for being here today and being an essential part of this remarkable community.
Hi everyone, my name is Will Barkoff and I am the president of Cornell Hillel. Thank you all for coming here today to stand in unity, solidarity, and unwavering support for those currently being held hostage and everyone impacted. Your presence here sends a powerful message, a message of courage, of hope, and of resilience. Our community has always been strong, even in times of adversity. And today, I want to reaffirm that strength. Together, we will not waver in our commitment to stand by the side of those who are suffering. We will continue to pray for their safe return and work to raise awareness. Cornell Hillel has resources available to support you, and we encourage you to reach out if you encounter any discrimination, anti-Semitism, or any form of bias, or if we can help in any way. There are additional resources at the link at the bottom of the quarter cards to support you. Thank you again for joining us today and for being a part of this incredible community. It is heartwarming to see all of us stand strong together and in support of Israel. Am Yisrael Chai.
If you'd now all join me in singing the national anthem. Kol od valevav penima, nefesh yehudi homiya, ufatem mizrach kadima, ayin lezion Sophia. Od lo avda tikvateinu, Thank you. I think we're going to stay around and do some singing, so for anyone that'd like to stay. Awesome. Vehi she'amda lavotenu, vehi she'amda